All right, so you are going to need a 12-foot by 12-foot space and about an hour and a half to complete this. You're gonna open all the boxes and sort the parts. This whole box is set up with animal parts, and it's gonna help you be able to assemble all your parts. There's the auger. All right, so my first steps in getting this laid out according to its category is by putting the boxes near where they go. And there is a lot of stuff. I started unboxing everything and I really started running out of room. And so I'm gonna start assembling some stuff that was segregated, but need a little more space. All right, our first step is going to be install the safety grate in the hopper. You're going to use the B screw. You're going to get 2 of them, and we're going to install this right into the hopper. So it does recommend that you do this hand tight and then come back with the screwdriver. So these are your B screws right here. So I'm going to open these up. All right, so for this, I'm threading these in first. Gonna get them all started nice like this. And then I'm going to take this and get it all lined up right, and then I'm going to tighten it down with a screwdriver. All your parts are labeled on the front so you know what you're working with, and they're all labeled on the back so you know what you're working with, and you can start punching things out. So just going to tighten these down with the screwdriver, make sure it's all lined up properly, and I'm just making it snug. Good. All right, our next step is to install this side to the hopper here. And we're gonna be using screw B's again, and we're gonna use 9 of them. This is gonna screw in just like this. Now, once you get that side panel installed on your hopper, you're gonna wanna flip it over 180 degrees. And then we are going to attach the hopper to the body. So we need to make sure that this is flipped over correctly and this. All right, now we are going to be using screw B, plate F. And so we're going to need 6 screws and 4 of these plates. And they are going to attach here to secure everything in place. All right, our first step is going to be sliding this together in place. It's got these 4 pins on each side. And we're gonna just slide this in and get it all lined up. All right, our 4 plates are gonna go here and here. Same thing on both sides. Now we're only gonna use 6 screws because we're gonna screw it into this part, but not this part yet. And then we'll use both screws here, same thing on the other side. All right, so I've got these in hand tight, and now I'm gonna come in and tighten them down with a screwdriver, just like this. Nothing too crazy. Same thing up here. I just want it to be semi-snug, and same thing on this other side. Once you have that step done, this is what it should look like. And now we're going to connect the auger box, and we're going to connect the power for the fan and auger motor right here. It's a 12-pin connector, and it'll go through our base here. Now here's the connector on the pellet box that will connect to the auger right here. All right, so here it is. This is gonna line up right here with this hole. Your auger is gonna line up with this here. You got your cable pins and your fan. And so all you have to do is connect this till you hear a little click. And it is much easier with 2 people, because that way someone can hold the auger and someone can put these clips in, just like that. Now that we have our cable connected, we're gonna put this in place, and we're gonna use screw A, and we're gonna use 4 of them. All right, so once this is installed, it'll look like this. You're gonna use these 4 A screws right here. All right, now we're going to attach the legs, and we're gonna be using the A screws, and we've got 2 legs and a leg panel. All right, so installing the leg, you wanna make sure that the flat side is facing in. And so it's kind of got this shape to it. And so this flat side is going to face in. And then we're going to install the other one. All right, when you are installing this panel for the legs here, you want to make sure that you put all the screws in hand tight before tightening them down. I ended up putting both sides like this in, tightening them down, and then I had to loosen them so that I was able to get these 2 screws in. So Just make sure you tighten everything down hand tight and then go back and tighten it with a screwdriver. All right, our next step is to move on to chapter number 2, which is chicken. And we're gonna be assembling the base. This is gonna take A and B screws. And so we're gonna find these panels and get them connected together. All right, these 2 panels are gonna come together like this. And then we've got these right here. And this is gonna connect right here on this side. And then on this side, this one is gonna connect just like that, but on the outside. All right, I'm gonna attach our 3 B screws that are gonna go right here on the inside. All right, so here are the 4 screws holding this bracket in, secured nice and tight. And now I'm gonna get this side over here. All right, when installing this piece, you're gonna make sure that the bracket lines up and that this is on top. And you're gonna use 4 A screws here. All right, now that this is installed, we're gonna flip it over so that the top side is up, just like this. The top side. And now we are going to attach the middle wall, which is this right here. And we'll be using 3 of the B screws. All right, when you install this middle wall, you wanna make sure that this tall side right here is on the same side as this. And these little tabs point to the short side with this little indent in it. So these tabs right here are on the same side as this. Our next step is going to be to flip it over, put it on our base, and we are going to be using 8 B screws to attach the base to the grill body. All right, when you get this on, you're gonna wanna make sure that you just kind of position this because you're going to be screwing these into the legs right through here, here, and over here and here. So don't tighten them all the way down because you're gonna need some adjustment. Now our next step is to attach the vertical middle frame to the body. This is where we left that screw out, and we're gonna be screwing that together, and we'll be using 2 B screws. All right, our next step is to attach the casters. We got 4 caster wheels here, and we are going to use 16 A screws. So here we go. All right, I got my A screws and I got all my casters about ready in place. Now all the casters are installed, and that is all of the A screws. All these casters are 360-degree swivel, and they do all have their own brake. So pretty nice. Now that we have the casters installed, we are going to flip this thing over to the upright position. Now, it does recommend that you lock these wheels when you go to flip this thing over. Our next step is to attach the PAL utility rack. And so that is going to get put in right here underneath the hopper. All right, you're going to take your utility rack, and your bolt holes are going to be facing you like this. And it's going to come through this way and then turn back and come through like this and then line up like this. Once you weave this through, you'll be using screw B to attach these here and here. And this is what it should look like when it is complete, just like that. All right, we are now to the chapter 3, pink pork. We're gonna install the folding side shelf, base, and controller. All right, our first step of chapter 3 is going to be to assemble the PAL rails. And so we're gonna be using a lot of screw Bs. We're gonna be using 14 B screws. We're gonna be attaching all of these. Once you get all 3 of these set up, then you can attach the long one in the front and then the short one in the side using 6 of these B screws here. I suggest that you put something in the bottom of this because I dropped my screw down through the grate and into the auger, but luckily the end of this is magnetized and I was able to pull it out really easy. Once you get your 2 PALs attached, all you have to do, this is what it should look like. Your next step is going to be going from the bottom side and securing your rails that you just installed, and you're going to be using 4 screws to do that. Now these are fully secured from the bottom, so you're not going to have to worry about it pulling out or lifting away. Now you're going to attach the folding side shelf brackets, and you will be using 5 of the B screws. Now this bracket is just going to slide in just like this, And you're going to install a screw from the inside and then 2 from the outside down there. Now we're going to have a similar situation on this side here. This is going to slide in just like this here. We'll have a screw here and a screw here. And now we are going to attach the folding side shelf. And so it's going to take 4 of the E screws. And we're going to hook this thing on. All right, so we're going to take our bracket and we're going to slide it right in this little groove here and here. And we've got to get this thread through there so that it rotates on this collar part of the screw. Now to make this a little easier on me, I threaded this in. That way I've got the collar here that I can put this hook on. And I did that on this side also, and then I'll be able to line up the bottom screw. All right, there it is. It's installed. And so for this shelf, all you have to do is lift it up and it rotates down. Our next step is to assemble the rear panels and top trim. And for this, we will be using 4 B screws. Now for this, all you have to do is line them up and slide them down in this groove and they lock in place. But now we have to install the top panel. Now this is the top panel here, but it's not showing you that there is this corner piece right here. So it's not a perfectly flat piece. That's what it looks like here, but it's not just a perfectly flat piece. Our next step is to attach the rear top trim and rear panel assembly. We're going to need 8 B screws, and it's going to go together like this. Now this is what it's going to look like when you get the rear panel all screwed in. And so I suggest doing these top screws first, and then the bottom ones, and the bottom ones here, and then the side ones last, including this one here. Our next step is going to be to assemble the backsplash, and all this just clips together. When assembling these backsplash, they are labeled with an L and an R, and then here you have your L and your R. All right, here it is all assembled. The clips are on the outside, and the arrows on the outside will line up and point at each other. Same thing here, here. The arrows line up and they point at each other, and the clips are on the outside. Now we are going to route the backsplash wiring, and then we are going to just attach it to the frame. And so we will be using 4 B screws, and we're going to make sure we route this wire correctly. So your wiring is going to come right through here, and then you are going to want it to run towards you, towards the front, and then it's going to come out through this little hole right here. All right, after you get these screws put in, your backsplash is now attached, but you do have a couple more screws on the back side, on the outside, and that is where we are going to install the rear hooks. And so it'll take 2 B screws, and it's going to go on here just like this, and it's going to attach the backsplash right here down to the frame. And now it's going to look just like this once you get that installed. And now this is totally secured in place. And you've got these hooks here on the back side. And now we are going to connect the controller. We're going to have a 4-pin connector, a 12-pin connector, and the Pellet 6-pin connector. All right, so I did run the probe thermometer through this little square at the bottom, and it connected in here. And then these 2 cables came from the underside of the hopper, and I was able to connect them. And now I'm gonna get this in place and get it all figured out. All right, so actually don't run it through this little square hole right here at the bottom. You wanna just have it come right out through this side panel here, come over here, and then when you go to set this thing up, everything will line in place, and then you won't have any pinches or anything at the bottom. All right, now we're gonna attach the controller from the inside first, and it's gonna be 2 B screws, and it'll go right here. And then we will attach it from the underside on the front, and that'll be another 2 B screws. Now we are going to be attaching the front trim to the bottom side of your grill. This is looking up at it from the bottom and front, and then we will attach the front right trim, and the same thing, that'll be looking up at it from the bottom right here. And we will be using 4 B screws here and 4 B screws here. So we're making a total of 8 for these next 2 steps. All right, so now we are going to attach the doors, and we're going to need 2 of these piece eyes, and they'll go down right here on the door. And just pop in, and then the door is going to clip in on top of it. Now these doors do have magnets on each side, top and bottom, and then it has this spring pin, and that's what's going to allow you to set it on top of this piece eye and then get it in. And there's a little lever right here on the inside so that you can pull it down. All right, this is what it's going to look like when both doors are in place. They just pull open, just like that. Magnet shut, pull open, magnet shut. Our next step is going to be to install this extra trim band. And so all it is this decorative band that's going to slip in, and then we're going to hold it down with one of our B screws. And it's going to go right here to prevent anything from falling down in between your hopper and your grill. And it's still going to allow airflow. So you install this from the back side, and it's going to get installed underneath of your frame. And it's going to slide in just like that. It's going to slide in just like that right there. And then you will screw it right here. All right, we are now on to the salmon portion of this. This is chapter 4. And we are going to attach the hopper lid. It's going to take 4 B screws, and it's going to look just like this. And these last 4 screws are it for the B screws. We're all done with those. All right, our next step is to install the chute, shield, and baffle. And so it's going to look something like this. Now this is the grease chute, and it's just going to clip on. It's going to rest right here, and it's going to line up with this whole bottom here. This here is used to prevent the ambers from the pellets getting down into the can of grease. So just sits in there, rests just like that. Now this is the heat baffle that goes over top of the flames. Coming out here, this. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is install the drip tray. And so it just rests in right over top, and it's going to line up with your chute right here. All right, here is the drip tray all installed. All it did was sit down and rest right here. And you can see that all of the points for the drip tray run into the chute, lines up really nice, real perfect. It does have a lot of grease on it, or oil. All right, our next step is to attach the handle to the lid. And to do this, I'll just be taking some of these screws that are already in the handle apart and then putting it back together. So when you install this on there, you want to make sure you go screw, washer, plate, and then to the handle. This little plate's going to go between the handle and the lid, and then your washer and screw will come from the inside. All right, now the handle is all installed. The next step is to attach the lid to the frame. So here it is you're going to use this pin, this washer, and then this locking pin. And so you want it to go pin, lid, frame, washer, locking pin. All right, so I got the pin in. It's coming out this side, and I put the washer on. And now all I have to do is secure it in place with that, just like that. Same thing on this side. We got the pin, washer, and now it's secured in place there and there, just like that. All right, the next thing that we are going to do is install their grates. We've got 2 lower grates and a upper grate. And then we will install our drip catcher. All right, these 2 trays right here, they just sit on top. They just rest on these little ledges right here. And then this one, when you put it in, you want to make sure that the curved part is in the back, just like that. And then it's going to rest right here in these little holes. Now, as far as this, it does have a little pressure springs on it, so that when it gets put in, you know it's going to stay in place and it's not going to bump around or wiggle or anything. So, perfect. Now, let's say that you are not a big fan of having this top rack. You want to cook something that is a little bit closer to the top here, and so you just want that extra room above it. All you have to do is lift it out, take it, and then it has these hooks, and this is what those hooks are in the back for. And so you're able to hang this on these hooks just like this and store that. nice and out of the way. And then if you are cleaning this, you can take this off and you can hang it right here just like this. And you can take this one and you can hang it just like that right there. Just while you're cleaning it, get that all cleaned out, and then you're good to go. All right, and there it is. And then all you have to do is plug this in and you're good to go. So this oil that is on these stainless steel portions, you want to make sure you leave that there. Don't clean that off, because when you heat this up, it's going to burn and it's going to provide it a good seasoning seal. And it's going to help protect your grates and grills and everything longer if you do it that way. All right, I just got my Traeger all set up. So now I'm going to season it. So this is how you're going to do that. I've already installed the pellets that I'm going to need. I've plugged in my cord. And now I'm going to flip this switch right here. Give it power. All right, it's just come on. So now what we're going to do is turn our dial to 350 degrees. There, press it. And then we're going to hit this button right here. The fans come on. So the auger is starting. Now this little icon right here, this is to indicate that if it's heating up. This is supposed to represent like a flame. All right, it's been a few minutes. It took a while for the auger to get the pellets all the way down into the pot, but now it is starting to smoke. All right, so it took a little bit, but it got up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And so now what I'm gonna do is set a timer for 15 minutes. Once that's up, I'm gonna increase the temperature to 500 degrees. So, see you back when it's up to 500 degrees. All right, I'm gonna turn this thing up to 500 now, lock it in. All right, I just got to 500 degrees, and so now I'm gonna set a timer for 45 minutes. You're gonna let that thing run for 45 minutes now, holding at 500 degrees. All right, this has been at 500 degrees for 45 minutes, and so now the next step is to hold down this button here. This is the turn off. And you can see it right there when you just barely touch it. But you're gonna hold it for a couple seconds. 3, 2, 1. And now it's doing its cool down cycle. And so we let this run for its 24 minutes. All right, the cool down cycle has fully completed. And now it is done. I'm able to turn it off if I want. Let's see what the inside looks like now. The lashy, what was once a bright shiny silver, is now darkened. So that is its seasoning. So all this ash, they said, is normal after a seasoning session. Just wipe it down and it's perfectly fine. And now we can flip the switch. Fully shut down. All right, I got it stored, ready for the night. It's going to bed now.